Breaking tonight, digital ID for everyone. The Prime Minister is set to announce the scheme will be compulsory for all adults in a desperate bid to tackle illegal migration. Meanwhile, he'll make a major speech later today, promising a patriotic renewal. Our political editor, Christopher Hope, has more.
Sir Keir Starmer takes the fight to reform UK. Weeks after describing Nigel Farage's party as plastic patriots, the PM later today will say the UK needs what he calls patriotic renewal. He will say that progressives, those on the left, must look ourselves in the mirror, he'll say, and recognise where we've allowed our party to shy away from people's concerns. Speaking at a global Progressives Action Conference alongside the Australian PM Anthony Albanese and the Canadian PM Mark Carney, he'll draw a contrast of what he calls divisive politics of decline with patriotic renewal. He'll say this is the dividing political choice of our times, a politics of what he calls predatory grievance, preying on the problems of working people, using that infrastructure of division against a politics of patriotic renewal, rooted in the communities, building a better country, brick by brick from the bottom up. That's what you want to set out. That choice Sir Keir Starmer will set out in a major speech in London ahead of the Conservative Party conference. And also, he'll recognise the concerns of ordinary people on uncontrolled immigration.
Well, the former chief spokesman for President Trump, Jason Miller, joins me in the studio now. Jason, lovely to see you.
Great to be with you.
Global Progressives Action Conference. I saw your body do a little sort of shake at that point. So did mine. Sounds like a fun crowd, doesn't it? Right, digital ID, Jason Miller. Why do you not have this conversation happening here in the US when it is going to be huge tomorrow in the UK?
Well, it's a massive issue. And by the way, it's a bold strategy. There's an economic crisis that's going on, and there's an illegal boat migrant crisis. And so Starmer's solution is let's make everybody get a new ID card. I don't understand this. I'm not the expert in the UK politics, but it seems rather strange to me. But here in the US, especially to have that be in the digital side, the collection of data, being able to track people at all times, really a little bit concerning when you look from the freedom of movement, freedom of speech. In the US, they recently introduced a real ID, which is they're trying to get people to go and do it, but it's not mandatory.
Well, what does that mean? What's the real ID here?
Essentially here, you take in your, whether you have a passport or a birth certificate, to go in and show that you're actually who you say that you are.
How is that different to what you already have here? Because you have your social security numbers, you have your passport. What are the benefits of that?
So essentially it's a standardized ID. Now, you have a lot of people who don't want it. I know Senator Rand Paul and a number of others really pushed hard and delayed it for a long time. So it's really just federal buildings and then airplanes where they really want to go and check it. But actually here they've started to, with the exception of that ID, started to pull back some of those restrictions. People don't like all the data being collected in one place and the concern about government doing this. But the other thing too is, correct me if I'm wrong, but the UK already has an electronic verification system with regard to migrant workers to make sure that they're legally. And again, the simple strategy to dealing with illegal migrants is to turn the boats around. I don't know, maybe no one suggested that to the Prime Minister.
Oh, we have on multiple occasions, believe me. But that's why it doesn't make sense, because this will do nothing to stop people coming over on boats. They are already, as you say, they're already supposed to have a national insurance number so that they would work. They were supposed to have the right papers to get a job. They don't have them, they get a job. Doesn't mean they're suddenly going to put it on their mobile phone. It's nonsense. We're being lied to, Jason.
Well, the other thing, too, is there are ways to fake virtually everything. And so you got to think that at a certain point, people are here illegally or in the UK illegally will find a way to get around it to try to get jobs, or they'll just go completely off the grid to where they're working for cash. They're not registering, not paying taxes by any sense. So it really seems suspect. I just can't believe that somebody in the Prime Minister's office said, sir, a great idea to get people to quit talking about the tanking economy and all the illegal migrants is a national ID. It blows my mind.
As a journalist, I always need to remember more in less time. And you know what I really hate? Taking notes. It wastes loads of time and you forget stuff. And that's where Claude comes in. This is the Claude Note, a sleek, pro-level AI note taker that records and creates notes for you. Whether you're listening to a long podcast, stuck in a meeting, or on an important call, Claude captures everything at the tap of a button. Then it gives you a smart, structured summary with all of the key takeaways. It even recognises different speakers by their voice, and you can choose from bullet points, to-do lists, or even mind maps. Your data's safe too, with end-to-end encryption and global privacy compliance. And with Claude's built-in AI, you can search everything you've ever recorded just by asking a question. It's slim, magnetic, under 30 grams, lasts up to 60 days on standby, and over 1 million people are already using it. Hit the link in the description and use code GB10 for £10 off your Claude order. Save hours of time and never miss a detail again. Link in the description below.
And it's another of those examples, actually, of being here in Washington and seeing the difference between the mindset of this government and the mindset of our socialist government in the UK. What would Donald Trump say if you said to him, "Sir, I have a great idea. We're going to put every single American on a centralised database and everything's going to be on there. It's going to have your income, your spending habits. We're going to be able to see what medication you're on, and then you're going to have access to things that are going to be conditional on you having ticked these boxes." Now, some people love this, Jason. Don't get me wrong. Some people in the UK think this is a brilliant idea. But what would Donald Trump say?
I think in a very polite way, he would say, don't come back tomorrow. You can go ahead and stay home. You don't work here anymore. No, it's lunacy. Of course, here with the way that President Trump is turning things around, and no longer or do we have a big brother and big government all in your face like this. This was part of the whole reform, is whether it be on the free speech side of things. Of course, the president is taking on the news outlets. He's taking on the weaponization of the legal system. We finally got that turned around, so we don't have it before. But I can't imagine how this goes well for the Prime Minister tomorrow.
I can't imagine how it goes well for him either, but there will be people who are so concerned about the small boats crisis, and it makes some sort of logical sense. They might say, okay, well, fine, we're just so sick of how much money we're spending of taxpayers' money on that problem. Perhaps this is the solution. I feel like we're having sand kicked in our eyes over this.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of a parallel. If you remember back during, before President Trump took over in the last year of the Biden administration, the fact that they were saying we have to have this bipartisan immigration deal. We can't stop illegal immigration without this bipartisan legislation. And of course, on the Trump side, we said this was completely idiotic. All you have to do is secure the border. And there were weeks and months of debate about how we're going to go and have this bipartisan legislation. President Trump gets in one day he secures the border, and the solution's over. So literally, if you just turn the boats around, you could solve this. It's a red herring to go and say that this is going to go and solve anything.
Well, it very much plays into the idea that those people who've been saying this doesn't make, like, they can solve the boats crisis. Maybe the whole point of the boats crisis is so that they can push through this digital ID, because herein lies power beyond the wildest dreams of most politicians. One politician who loves a bit of power. This is a man behind this. I don't know how you feel about Tony Blair. Here he is talking about it, Jason.
The benefits are clear. Digital ID will make our interactions with each other and with the state faster, cheaper, and more reliable. It will allow us to judge who has a right to be in our country and who doesn't, and so solves one of the major challenges of immigration.
Now, he's been spending 20 years on, if not more, telling us what to think about various different issues. Your opinion on Tony Blair, and why might he want to push this system through, Jason?
Well, I have to say I am appreciative for Tony Blair with his efforts with regard to Gaza and Israel. I think from what I've been told by Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner's office, he's been a big help on that. But this is just crazy. This is a tired idea from a tired time. The dynamics are completely different now, and there's nothing about this ID that will stop a single person. Do you think someone who's on the coast of France getting ready to jump in one of those boats is going to say, boy, we need to really rethink this, because they're going to make us go and get some ID?
Because they're going to stop us with an app.
Exactly.
They're going to stop us with an app. It just doesn't, like I say, it isn't about that at all, is it? Big story here today. I know you've been at the White House today. Donald Trump, Pam Bondi asking for capital punishment across the world, across the country, maybe not the world. Here we go. Here's a little clip of it.
This is the death penalty for somebody that kills people in Washington, D.C. I think it's capital. It's a very interesting capital punishment, capital city.
Not only are we seeking it in Washington, D.C., but all over the country again.
So that was Pam Bondi, United States Attorney General there, talking about this, and Trump saying, capital punishment in the Capitol Is that popular with the residents of this city?
Capital punishment is pretty popular everywhere around the country, and that's one of the things where people can agree on is they want safety with regard to their cities. Now, frequently it becomes a politicized issue where Democrats and the knee-jerk liberal reaction is no, we have to, we can rehab murderers or something like that. But the reality is people want to see, if you're a violent criminal, a murderer, they want to see you get the death penalty. It's popular everywhere. I would love to see it. I think everywhere in the U.S. now, we do have our state system, so state by state, some states have different rules. But I do like the idea for Washington, D.C., and for, I would love it nationally.
The issue in this country, which we don't have it in quite the same way in the UK, is this idea of federal decisions, national decisions, and taking power from the individual states. And that's one of the issues that people are complaining about in this city a bit sometimes, I guess, at the moment, those who don't like Donald Trump and this government. They're saying you shouldn't be able to decide for individual states. Will you get pushback from states if this is intended to be nationwide?
Yeah, of course there'll be pushback. I mean, anything that President Trump does is going to get pushback. He can order people to clean up the city and get the crazies off the streets, and they would still find a way to say, no, you're being oppressive or something like that. What a lot of folks might not realize in the UK is Washington, D.C. is not actually a state. It's under federal control. It has an aspect of home rule. And actually, the mayor, Muriel Bowser, has actually worked with President Trump on a lot of this, and President Trump has praised her several times. So it's a little bit of a unique environment, but it's by no means a Republican city. It's very Democrat. But I tell you, people like the job the president has done of making the city safe again.
Yeah. You've also been there today listening to the conversations in the White House about TikTok. What's happened?
Yeah, so TikTok, President Trump essentially saved it. So what they're doing is they're splitting off the data, which they'd already started keeping here in the U.S., teaming up with Oracle. They call it Project Texas. So that's where they have all the servers. But the big outstanding issue, and the thing that really held it up, was the algorithm. And Bev, I know you probably have TikTok. You're probably on a little bit. I wouldn't tell the kids.
Bit.
I'm probably on a little bit more than I should. It's addictive. I tell you, they have a thing going. But the algorithm that they get down, that has to be controlled by Americans, because you think if that's controlled by a foreign country, could they start, say you get close to election time, do they want certain messages to come up? If there's an armed conflict somewhere, do they want to try to get people thinking a certain way? So they're splitting it off, and so the algorithm will be controlled by a U.S. controlled board here in the United States. They have the data and ultimately able to deal with the issues that people had raised. And so I tell you, it helped President Trump win the youth vote. It's popular in my household.
Let me just ask you finally, before you go, Jason, about patriotism, because the Prime Minister in the UK, in order to sell this idea of a digital ID to the country, is going to talk about the fact that we are going to build this country back via our patriots, which feels a little rich because that hasn't really been his rhetoric recently. What do you notice about the definition of that word in this country compared to the UK?
Well, I can point you right to the numbers. There was a poll that came out from the Gallup organization this summer that showed that only 36% of Democrats are proud to be Americans. 36%. The number for Republicans, 92%. And by the way, the other 8% probably misheard the question and didn't know what they were answering. But it's become a thing now where it's really sad. I think many of these people on the left suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. I'm not sure what the equivalent would be when it comes to the UK.
We're seeing quite a bit of Farage derangement syndrome. We're going to talk about it actually on the show tonight.
But you notice now, and again, it can be in the UK, the United States, or Brazil, simply by saying that you're proud of your country and being proud to represent with the flag, all of a sudden you're some far-right person. And I think it really, this media mindset of trying to undermine being proud of your country, everyone should be proud of their own country.
Let's have a quick look actually, because Ben Leo went out on the streets of Washington today to see how Americans feel about the Brits being ashamed of our flag or not being allowed to fly it. Here's what happened.
Local councils are telling people to take their flags down because they say it's against health and safety, it's dangerous. What do you make of that?
In America, we proud. We gonna keep that flag up wherever we're at. Maybe, see, over there, it's a dictatorship.
if you hold a flag up outside your house or in the street, you get called racist.
No way.
You think Brits should be proud as well?
Yes.
Don't take any of that nonsense.
It's the motherland. That's what started. If it wasn't for England, it wouldn't be no America.
In the UK, councils have told Brits to stop flying our flag.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
I don't agree with it.
No.
So
Some people think it's racist flying British flags.
no, it's not. It's loving your country.
Flags maybe should be reevaluated.
I mean, I think flags are I think when I see the flags, I think of like the men and women that serve our nation, and that I'm like they've given their life to protect this nation, whether they agree with what's going on or not. And so that when I see it, that's what I think of.
People should take pride in their country, but I can understand that there's history to be recognized as well.
You see, it is so different here to the UK. How have you managed to do that over 250 years for people to remain proud of this country?
I don't know, but the first gentleman I think is going to put me out of a job. He was pretty good, but I also loved especially the younger guy who started to give this nonsensical, very Georgetown-esque answer. And his girlfriend jumped in and was like, hey, you're going to get canceled if you say that you have to reevaluate the flag. She saved him. I hope he buys her some roses this evening.
Well, just to be clear, because that's because there's a university in Georgetown, isn't there? Yeah, and so it's a little bit more academic-y, maybe a tiny little left enclave within the DC environs, would you say?
And he also might just be a lefty. But fortunately, he had his girlfriend there because she saved the day. But look, people should be proud of the flag. They should be proud of their country. And why the people on the left don't get it or why they're ashamed of it, I think really goes to undermine sovereignty, whether it's in the UK or in the US.
When I found out that this digital ID system, which has been bubbling away for at least, well, probably 10 years, but some of us were aware of it for 5 years, when I found out it was going to be called the Brit card, all sorts of things just fell into place, and I realised because it will be deemed non-patriotic if you don't sign up to the Brit card, which is a form of blackmail, isn't it, on the part of the government to the people?
Yeah, the whole thing is very strange. And I think the Brit card also, it's really mixing everything because, like you said, they're trying to force it that if you don't go and get it, then somehow you're unpatriotic. Yeah. And because you want to control your information, it seems, I can't wait to watch this. I'll be watching GB News tomorrow to see how Starmer explains this. This will be a fun one.